They called him just a janitor, until the night he ran straight into a burning runway. That's how the story began, the kind that grips your heart before you even realize it. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and like this video, because what you're about to hear isn't just about courage, it's about a father's love, a man's quiet strength, and how one act of bravery changed everything. It was close to midnight at the naval base's auxiliary airstrip, rain slashing sideways, thunder shaking the sky. The storm was so violent that even the senior officers had retreated indoors. But inside the hangar, a single dad named Ethan Cole, mopping floors in his faded blue janitor's uniform, kept working. His shift was almost over. All he wanted was to get home, check on his 8-year-old son, Noah, and maybe heat up the leftover soup sitting in their tiny apartment fridge. Ethan had once been someone else, someone the military used to salute. But life had its own ways of humbling people. After losing his wife in a car accident and being medically discharged from the Air Force for an injury, he found himself taking any job he could to support his boy. Cleaning floors, fixing broken faucets, sweeping hangars, it didn't matter. Noah needed stability, and Ethan would give his son the world if it meant working through every night, but that night, something changed everything. A loud boom shattered the storm. The ground trembled. Out through the rain, Ethan saw what looked like a flash of fire spiraling toward the bay, the silhouette of a Navy jet losing altitude fast. He dropped the mop and sprinted. The alarms blared seconds later, but by then, Ethan was already halfway down the slippery runway, rain pelting his face, boots sinking into puddles. The jet hit the shallow waters near the shore, half submerged, smoke rising, fire licking at the waves. Inside was Lieutenant Commander Sarah Bennett, one of the Navy's top pilots. She was trapped, unconscious, strapped into the cockpit as the jet began to sink. The nearest rescue crew was 15 minutes away. Ethan didn't have 15 seconds to think. He dove in. The water was freezing, the smell of burning fuel almost unbearable. He smashed his elbow against the canopy, over and over, until the glass cracked. His knuckles bled. He took one breath, went under again, and used his boot to kick it open. He pulled Sarah out, her uniform tangled in the harness. She wasn't breathing. With trembling arms, he dragged her toward the shore. Lightning flashed overhead. Ethan started CPR right there in the mud, whispering, "Come on, ma'am. Don't quit on me." She gasped. Water spilled from her mouth. Her eyes flickered open. And in that moment, half-conscious, drenched in fuel and rain, she saw the man who'd saved her life, his janitor badge bent, his lips trembling from the cold. He didn't say a word. He just wrapped her in his jacket until medics arrived. By morning, the storm had passed. Ethan went home, hands raw, uniform ruined. He tucked Noah into bed, kissed his forehead, and told him everything was okay. For Ethan, it wasn't heroism, it was instinct. He didn't expect anyone to notice. He was used to being invisible, but the next morning, the silence broke. As Ethan walked back to the base, 5 Humvees rolled up to his small apartment complex. Neighbors peeked from their windows, confused. A convoy of uniformed officers stepped out, led by none other than Lieutenant Commander Sarah Bennett, now standing tall in her dress uniform, her arm still in a sling. Behind her were high-ranking officials, the kind that never even looked at janitors. They stopped in front of Ethan's door. "Mr. Cole," Sarah said, voice firm yet emotional, "on behalf of the United States Navy, we owe you more than words can repay." Ethan froze, broom still in his hand. "I was just doing what anyone would have done." "Anyone?" she said softly. "Anyone else would have watched. You dove into a burning ocean." Before he could speak, the officer beside her handed him a sealed letter. It bore the Navy's crest. Inside, an offer, full reinstatement, rank restored, and a commendation for heroism signed by the Admiral himself. But that wasn't what stunned Ethan. It was Sarah's next words, "Your son deserves to know the man his father really is." Tears blurred Ethan's vision. He tried to speak, but nothing came. Noah, standing behind him, tugged his sleeve and whispered, "Dad, are they here because of you?" Ethan knelt, smiling through the tears. "No, buddy. They're here because of what we do when no one's watching." The crowd of officers saluted him. Cameras clicked. For the first time in years, Ethan felt seen not as a janitor, but as a man who never stopped serving. A week later, he stood on the same runway, this time wearing a clean uniform with his name stitched across the chest. Beside him, Noah held his hand, beaming. Sarah walked up, grinning. "You ready to fly again, Sergeant?" Ethan looked up at the clear sky, the sun breaking through the clouds. "Yeah," he said quietly. "For him, I always am." The story spread across the base, then across the internet, one man's courage reigniting faith in what real heroes look like. Not the ones with medals or rank, but the ones who still run toward the fire when everyone else runs away. And as the closing shot fades, the voiceover says, "If this story touched your heart, make sure to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe for more real-life stories of courage and heart." Because heroes like Ethan remind us, sometimes, the world's bravest men are the ones sweeping its floors.